We all face challenges in our life. Some of them are very personal. Others are challenges we share with our neighbors, our town, our church, our country. Some challenges are global. Certainly, we've seen and experienced many of those challenges in the past year. And that's why I think that many of us, I know at least me, hoped that as we came to 2021, we would feel that we were starting fresh, that there was a whole new beginning awaiting us. And maybe that's why it was disheartening, those events that took place this past Wednesday. Disheartened and discouraged so many Americans of all different political parties and persuasions. It's a reminder to us that we cannot be discouraged, but we have to be realistic. There are still many challenges that face us as a country, as a world, moving into this new year. Sometimes when we face challenges, I think that we look back and wish we could go to simpler times, as if anything like that really existed, because looking back, you always see that there are challenges that people faced, our country faced. Whenever I'm preparing these videos, I often will look back and say, what happened on this particular date in history? And so I was looking back at what happened on January the 8th in history. And I came to 1965. And in 1965, Everett Dirksen, those of us of a certain age might remember that name. He was the Republican senator from Illinois. And he introduced into Congress a bill that would make the marigold the national flower of the United States. Now, in case you don't know your flowers, this is a marigold. So introducing a flower as the national flower in January of 1965, if you know anything about your history, you might stop and think, was that the most pressing issue? Was that what was needed in January of 1965? The civil rights movement was taking place, and there was lots of challenges. The war in Vietnam was escalating. There would be future heartbreak and challenges with that war. And certainly our country was only a little over a year after the assassination of President John F. Kennedy. So one might say that the need for a national flower was not on the list of things that had to get accomplished. Some people will say that Everett Dirksen had seed companies that were lobbying him, and that's why he was very adamant in trying to get this to be the national flower. Maybe he liked the flower personally. I have no idea. But on this day in January of 1965, the gentleman from Illinois introduced a bill to make the marigold our national flower. And the bill didn't pass. But I think of marigolds, those hardy, beautiful flowers. You probably plant them in your own yard or seen them planted in other people's yards or in the street planters downtown in Princeton. They're all over. They're beautiful. They're brilliant. They're orange and yellow and gold. And they're the kind of flower that is hardy in a lot of seasons. And they become even more beautiful because what you can do is that as they die, the flower dies, you just sort of deadhead the flower and it continues to bloom. I used to have a relative who would go outside to smoke cigarettes, and she didn't really say she was going out to smoke cigarettes. She would always tell us, I'm going out to deadhead the flowers, the marigolds that were out there. And she did do the job, but she was also smoking cigarettes while she was out there. There are some symbolic meanings given to this flower, the marigold. The name itself comes from Mary's gold. And there is a legend that on the flight to Egypt, Mary and Joseph did not have money with them, I guess, to pay their way, but they used marigold flowers as their currency. And that is why early Christians, when they would go to altars that were dedicated to Mary, if they did not have coins because they were poor, they would leave marigolds on the altar. I like this flower. I don't know if it should be the national flower, but I like this flower because it really is a brilliant sign of promise. I'm not certain if there were marigolds in Palestine during the time of Jesus. Maybe that could be your homework. Go look through the internet and find if they were actually around in the time of Jesus. But I'd like to imagine them, at least in light of today's gospel, lining the road as Jesus encountered the leper. It's interesting that in Luke's gospel, where we hear the story from today, the cleansing of the leper is the very first thing that Jesus does after he calls his disciples to leave their boats, to leave their things, and to follow him. In his first encounter with his disciples, he moves them to a man who was in need of healing, a man who was ostracized, socially distant, because people thought not only was he contagious, but he might also be a sinner. And in this moment, Luke shows us what the whole ministry of Jesus will be about. He will go to people who are sick, who are suffering, who do not feel welcome, who are burdened by life's challenges, who are in need of healing, who do not believe that their life is beautiful at all. This is a great theme in Luke's gospel. And it's very touching that the leper was not certain that Jesus would actually want to heal him. He's, a guy that other people have dismissed. Jesus should do this as well. But Jesus says to him the words that change everything. I do will it, be made clean. I do will it, be made clean. All of us have been through different seasons of life, times that have been tough, times that have been uncertain. We've also been through times that life seems as bright and as beautiful as a field of marigolds. But as we begin this new year, maybe all of us are thinking about where we would like to change our life. What needs to happen differently for me? Where am I in need of healing? Certainly we think about our country's need for healing. But I really believe that we can't focus only there without looking at our own lives and saying, where am I in need of healing? And you might look at your life, you know where you're suffering. You know where you need to be different. You know your sins, your failures. You know the things that you'd like to be, the kind of person you aspire to. And you might ask yourself, do I really think Jesus wants to heal me? If you have any doubt, he speaks the words in today's gospel. I do will it, be made clean. So I don't know how your New Year's resolutions are going. Maybe you haven't made any. Maybe some of your New Year's resolutions are the ones you've repeated in the past. You want to get in better shape, lose some weight, tackle that closet that needs cleaning. Maybe you want to read a particular book. But maybe today, in light of everything that has happened this week in particular, to think about where in your life you need healing. Maybe there's some wound. Maybe some unhelpful attitude or prejudice you have, or something that's holding you back, something you won't let go of, a guilt, something that prevents you from truly living as a follower of Jesus. Because I believe that only again when we see our need for personal healing can then we together move forward to help heal our country, to heal our world. So maybe that could be your prayer just for today, to take the words of Jesus, I do will it, be made clean. I do will it, be made clean. And as you pray that over and over again, to realize that he is indeed talking to you. Or maybe today you might think about finding some marigold seeds either online or maybe going to a garden shop. Might be a little early to plant them outside, but maybe in a few weeks you could be starting them as plants inside the house, potted inside the house, and then place them out there once the weather gets better. And then maybe down the road, months from now, maybe in the summer, hopefully when we are in a better, safer, healthier place in our life, in the world, in our country, you might look at the marigolds that you have planted, their brilliant color, And maybe you will think back to this day, January the 8th. The marigold may not be the national flower of our country, but it could be a reminder to you that the Lord wills to heal you, and He has healed you in so many different ways.